Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking NFL Week 8 recap here. We're going to go through all the Sunday games real quick here and see, how everyone performed today. We'll just get right into it. We're not going to take any time messing around with it. Let's start off Seahawks, Falcons. We'll talk about this game first. Seahawks win 27-20. I mean, Russell Wilson was fine, but he wasn't putting up like massive fantasy numbers like he, has in the past. In a few games, he ended up with 2 touchdowns, only 182 yards, but it's just a solid game all around for him. Carson looks good again, 90 yards, a touchdown. Rashad Penny actually didn't look too bad in limited work.
Yeah, he looked good, and they ran the ball a ton. I mean, Russell Wilson, you had mentioned he didn't, do a whole lot, but he only threw it 20 times. So, pretty impressive what he was able to get done with the limited amount of time.
Yeah, and this though is what people thought might happen to him earlier in the year. They were kind of thinking they're going to run the ball like crazy, and this is the Russell Wilson you're going to get fantasy wise. And yeah, it happened one week, but I don't think it'll happen a lot. Tyler Lockett, solid game, 6 for 100. And then DK Metcalf, not much there, only 3 catches for 13 yards, but 2 of them were touchdowns. So
big day for Metcalf.
That's all he needs. Those 2 touchdowns saves you. On the Falcons side, I mean, Julio had a big game, 10 for 152 with Schaub as his quarterback. It's crazy Matt Schaub's still in the league, actually. It's just a name you don't expect to hear.
Yeah, so long ago we were talking about the guy, and go figure, thrown into the fire, he threw 52 times. Yeah. So 460 yards, that is a lot. Only got 1 touchdown out of it, but man, they trust him enough because they gave him plenty of work.
Then Devontae Freeman, not much on the ground, but he got 63 receiving yards too, so he made it respectable for you, especially in PPR with 8 catches. Then Austin Hooper gets himself another touchdown catch there. He keeps doing it pretty much every week. He's been one of the better tight end options, but the Falcons just aren't very good. It's not a great team, but there's still some okay fantasy numbers for you. But then how about jump over to Eagles, Bills. So the Bills were kind of a fake 5-1 team, I guess this means. They weren't legitimate. 31-13. They get beat pretty badly. And man, people that picked up Bills defense like a couple weeks ago thinking they're going to be good for a stretch here. Man, that was ugly.
Yeah, that got bad very quickly.
So Miles Sanders looked pretty good there. For the first time, able to see some of his talent. Only 3 carries, though. Busted 1 for 65, though, but he also had 3 catches for 44. I still think that guy's a pretty good player if they start getting him involved. But look at the carries, though. 23 for Jordan Howard, 3 for Miles Sanders. Yeah. So as good as that looked for Sanders in those short bursts like that, he was out-carried by 20.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't get too excited yet. Really, the one big rush, they showed they will use him in the passing game, which is great, but Jordan Howard has an absolute stranglehold on the running back position at the moment.
And then Alshon went 4 for 64, not much for him, but Zach Ertz is not Zach Ertz of old. That's for sure. 2 for 20. Goddard, 3 for 22.
Yeah, what do you think that is? Because he was only, Goddard was actually targeted more than Ertz this game. I'm not sure what to chalk it up to be completely honest. I love Goddard. I really do. I even picked him up and threw him in my lineup because I had a need. But in no world did I ever think that Ertz was going to fall off so dramatically this season. And he still seems like he's still a good player. But what do you think about the lack of production lately?
I honestly, again, I don't know. This is one I'm kind of baffled by. I'm not really sure what it is. Maybe just, it's not even, I don't even know if teams are paying so much attention to him. It's weird to me. They're just not trying to go just to Ertz anymore. They're trying to spread it around. And last year that didn't really happen. They were just trying to get the ball to Ertz all the time. And how many weeks in a row is this that Goddard has been just as involved as Ertz? It's been a while now. You can't say that Ertz is any more valuable to the team right now than Dallas Goedert is, which is crazy to think. But he isn't anymore. And his numbers don't show that he's a top end tight end right now. He hasn't had more than 72 yards in a game, and he had 8 for 72.
No.
He had a 7 for 65 game. Other than that, it's all 2s, 4s, 5s, just not much.
I mean, honestly, like in 8 weeks, they haven't had their bye yet. He has, gone double digits in standard scoring once so far. And that was when he scored the touchdown. And he only has one touchdown. I mean, it is a complete night and day difference between where he was at. In the last 4 weeks, or the last 3, obviously, Goddard has been the play. I'm still not saying go and doing that, because we've seen like good players will eventually, bust out. And Goddard is not head and shoulders better than him or getting more playing time, anything like that. He has scored more touchdowns, and that's really what's kept him in it. But it is kind of alarming that Ertz is just looking. I mean, he's just a guy. I mean, he
looks like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll still be probably hanging on to be the bottom end of the top 10 of tight ends. But that is not why you draft him. That's not where you draft him. So I don't know where you move from here, especially since we're getting dangerously close to the trade deadline for most leagues.
I think you just play him. That's what you're stuck with. And hope it turns around. I don't see what else you can do with him. There isn't anybody on the waiver wire for you to get.
No, there's definitely not.
On the Buffalo side of things, I guess Josh Allen, a solid fantasy game, 21.3 points. He gets the 45 rushing yards, which always boosts him a little bit, 2 touchdowns. Not many yards, but for fantasy, he's solid. And I don't know how good of a game that was for an NFL quarterback, but for fantasy, he still gets you some points. And then another case where the older guy seems like he's the main guy in the backfield, even though the younger guy in Devin Singletary, I think, looks more explosive. But Singletary to get a touchdown catch today. But Gore's going to be the one getting the majority of the carries there.
Yeah, even though, I mean, today was nothing spectacular. I mean, Gore only got 9 carries. It was ugly from the get-go. But yeah, I'm very excited to see Singletary kind of gain ground on him. But as of right now, it does look like Singletary will be a play for next year. Not so much for this one. It just doesn't look like Gore is stepping aside.
Then Bears. Chargers win by 1. Chargers have every game like this. And Chicago misses with a last-second field goal. Phillip Rivers has not been good for fantasy this year. I just don't even put him in your lineup anymore. He's been pretty bad. 201 yards, touchdown pick. Just not much there for him. Not much there for Melvin Gordon either. He got himself a 19-yard touchdown run, which saves his day, but other than that, there was nothing going. And same with Austin Eckler. He saves his day with a touchdown catch, but other than that, he only had 22 total yards. And it was just an ugly game all around. Keenan Allen came into the game questionable. He did play. Not much there. Not much for Henry. Just not good for the Chargers today. They win, but just fantasy-wise, it sucked.
Yeah, it was. I mean, thank goodness they got the win. They desperately needed it. But, I mean, where do you go from here? They have so much talent on this offense. It's really difficult to watch them struggle so much. Who are the guys you still believe in on that offense as far as fantasy-wise, going in the second half of the season?
I mean, it's been a while since I've trusted Keenan Allen right now. But it's 5 weeks of pretty mediocre, not even mediocre, I would say, production. I don't know if you can trust that anymore. He was ranked today for me in the 30s. And honestly, I don't trust Keenan Allen right now. I don't think I trust any of these guys. It's crazy. Maybe Hunter Henry because the tight end position's no good. So I just put him in my lineup at tight end and don't worry about it. But the others, Melvin Gordon has not been good since he's come back this year. It's just not been good. I mean, it looks better with the touchdown today, but these are Melvin Gordon's 4 games. 12 for 31, 8 for 18, 16 for 32, 8 for 31. And he has, a couple catches here or there, but 4 for 7 catches, 3 for 30, 2 for -3, and 2 for 3. It's ugly. That's ugly stats. That's I don't even know what to think about that. Do you put him in your lineup? I don't even know how I do that.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't know. I truly don't know. Chicago, the only solace I take in this is, besides for maybe Pittsburgh, but Denver, Tennessee, and Chicago, they all can play defense. So you're maybe chalking up to that a slow start. He's obviously trying to get back into the groove of things, football shape, whatever you want to call it. Plus the defense, the matchups haven't been great. But I just don't like what I'm seeing about with the offense in general. So even if I think that he's going to, start getting it back into playing mode, I'm not sure if this offense is, going to help him out much. I mean, they go against Green Bay, then Oakland. So, I honestly, next week, I would not be looking to play him.
Yeah, I don't think I would right now either. Then Bears side of things, Trubisky's a terrible disappointment this year.
Yeah, that's for sure.
He's just not good. Just at all. He's not good. And then, we did say that a lot last year, I think, that he was putting up fantasy numbers, but we weren't sold on him as like an NFL quarterback. And that's all come this year. The fantasy's gone away too. Just bad. Then David Montgomery finally showed up for the first time this year. So good for him, but it took the people that, were big David Montgomery guys till week 8 before you got anything out of him, and a lot of people weren't even starting him anymore.
No, and it was a giant game. But I don't know. 27 carries. It was such a weird one that I don't know if this is like kind of a breakout game for him. I don't see this continuing game in and game out. I think this was kind of more of a flash, and maybe they'll start working him more and more. But it's good to see him finally do it. I guess I'll just give him a hand for that. But I have a hard time believing in it. Yeah,
I don't quite believe in it. Chargers weren't a very good defense against run in fantasy before today. So it was a good matchup for him. So we'll see if he can do it against other teams. And then receiving side of things, Anthony Miller showed up a little bit. Only 3 targets, but caught all 3 of them for 67 yards. So maybe he's starting to get back into it a little bit. Allen Robinson, really not much, 5 for 62. Just not a lot there from this game, really, except for David Montgomery.
Yeah, low-scoring game. Not a whole lot to get excited about.
Next up, Giants, Lions. Lions get the win. Stafford, again, solid fantasy output for Stafford. He's had a lot of those lately. This one, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns. I guess the surprise in this one was Trey Carson got the start at running back over Ty Johnson. A lot of people thought Ty Johnson would be the guy to come in and get most of the work, but it was just kind of a split there. Trey Carson had 12 carries, nothing to show for it. I think this is, without Kerryon Johnson, this is going to be like a Lions look of a few years back where they just throw the ball around and don't get a lot from their running game. And that's fine for Kenny Galladay owners. 6 for 123 and 2 touchdowns. And even Danny Amendola is becoming a little relevant. 8 for 95 for him. And last week, Amendola went 8 for 105. So that's 2 weeks in a row. 8 for 105 and 8 for 95. He might be a waiver wire pickup for next week.
Yeah, but what are you thinking about? I think you hit it on the head. Stafford is the surprise guy, if you will. Especially when Kerryon goes down, you were kind of wondering, we're like, oh, he's probably going to throw a few more times. Really, he didn't get that many more throws in, but he made them count. The last 2 games, he's had 7 touchdowns. Obviously, 3 out of the last 4, actually, he's gone almost 30 plus. Besides for the Green Bay game, which he can't, nothing really happened. But against Oakland, how high do you think he's actually going to be? I would assume he's going to be in your top 10 next week.
Yeah, probably. I think he should be. And he's looked good. He's looked like the Stafford we thought he could be. And, last year really disappointed us in how bad he was. But I think they have a pretty good receiving core. I think they're going to be solid. Marvin Jones did nothing today, but he's there too. I think you're going to see some good games from Stafford. I'd feel okay starting him in my lineup, especially, next week for sure. When he plays Chicago, I don't know about that, but Oakland, the Dallas game, Washington, 2 of the next 5 are against Chicago, which isn't any good in Minnesota. So a couple of those will be tough, but in the good matchup, Stafford's going to do well. He'll be a matchup guy, but I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and speaking of streaming quarterbacks, Daniel Jones put on a clinic today. Who would have thought that he would be the number 1 scoring QB? 4 touchdowns, 322 yards. He looked very, very good, even though they lost. What do you make of him? Because he has been kind of all over the board this year, as you would expect a rookie to be. Is he someone you even consider, or?
No, not yet. Not yet. I don't know what this one was, but I'm still not going to consider him. But it was a good game for him. It was really good. But yeah, I'm still not going to. Darius Slay wasn't out there, so that's a lot of it.
True.
Too.
I do have to say, it's got to be a lot easier for Daniel Jones to do well when Saquon is back. And as you saw, Saquon was tied for the most receptions on the team, which you got to love being the running back. He caught 8 balls for 79 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, that helps out any quarterback. So I think it will improve. I'm not expecting this a lot, but it will improve his stock. It, probably should push him away from those lower games, which he had a string of.
Yeah, Saquon's just great. Simple as that.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
Golden Tate was pretty solid, 8 for 85. Slayton got the 2 touchdowns, but those were his only 2 catches. And Ingram gets a touchdown too. But Saquon and Tate, I think Saquon's an awesome option every week. Tate, I think, is a pretty solid option for you.
Yeah, especially in a PPR, Golden Tate would be a very viable play.
All right, how about Bucks Titans? Titans get the 4-point win here as Jameis Winston throws for a couple more picks. I think he fumbled it a couple times too. Just Jameis.
The end of the road.
But I don't know how good Mike Evans owners next year I think they're going to want Jameis. Jameis just chucks the ball up to him. Out here, and this was this was the Evans game today. 11 for 198 and 2 touchdowns. That's why you Evans is going to get that game. Everyone, he's still okay. I know Chris Godwin's been great this year, and he might have even been like the number 1 in fantasy actually before this or close to it. Evans is still the number 1 there. He just is. Evans is the more talented receiver. I don't care what anybody says. And so he said his last 2 games have been pretty solid. He's a couple big ones, but this is what Evans does. He goes off for huge games when he goes off. And then next week he might get himself 4 for 40.
Right, exactly. And this is exactly why you kind of love the Bucks, even though they're not a good team. But even if you started Winston, even though he doesn't look particularly good in the game, he still gets you 23. I mean, he's still a top 10 quarterback this week. He got you 23 points, and he chucks it so much that if you're playing one of the wide receivers, you have a very good chance of doing well. So it's a weird team to watch. But as far as fantasy goes, there's always a couple of very high achievers on it.
Yep, it just wasn't Godwin's day today, but he'll have another big game. It's just the way it's going to go with this team. You never know exactly who's going to be the one to do it. And then Titans side of things, Derrick Henry gets himself 75 rushing yards. Tannehill threw 3 touchdowns. Solid game for Tannehill.
Yeah, he did really well. I mean, honestly, and to people I wouldn't have expected. Jonnu Smith, big game, talking about tight ends, always trying to find who to play.
There's an option if Walker's out.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. He really made a bid for it. I mean, 6 receptions for 78 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he was by far his favorite target. That would obviously be something I would heavily look into, trying to find a tight end to replace anyone that is not, giving you production.
Then how about Broncos Colts? Kind of an ugly game here. The Colts win 15-13. And let's see here. My box scores are loading up again. Yeah, Brissett, not much going today. So I ranked him up, 12-13 for this week, thinking Broncos are just going to lie down. It's going to be easy for the Colts, and they didn't. So Brissett gets himself 202 yards, and that's about it. Not much else there. So because of that, nobody really does anything receiving the ball. Mack gets himself 76 rushing and a touchdown, though, to make his day pretty good. But not much for the Colts, even though they got the win. But, the Broncos defense can show up at sometimes. Once in a while, they will still show up. How about the Broncos running game again? Just a nice split.
Yeah, right down the middle. Freeman gets the touchdown this game. You know what? The Broncos have to become the most, exactly what they're going to do. You know that they're going to split the carries between Lindsey and Freeman. They'll trade off touchdowns. And it has just turned into a thing where Sutton will get 70 to 80 yards, no touchdown, every game. I mean, this is what it's turning into. And you know that you should never play Flacco, obviously. But I mean, they're an incredibly easy team to figure out what exactly they're going to do and what their fantasy production is going to look like.
Yeah, pretty much. That's about, all they're going to do. And you see Flacco calling out his coaches after the game, which was nice to see, for not going for it on 4th down when they're down, not whatever. What was it? They were not trying to pass the ball there on 3rd down when they were up. Being conservative, yeah. Let's be a 2-5 team now, 2-6, and be conservative. That really does you well.
They want that high draft pick so they can get a quarterback.
Next up, Bengals, Rams. This was the London game. Not very exciting game. I didn't really see much of this one, honestly. There just wasn't a lot happening there. Goff gets himself 2 touchdowns. It was a Cooper Kupp game, that's for sure. 7 for 220 and a touchdown.
This is why we proclaim Kupp the amazing wide receiver to have. He has one down game and then immediately back up. So it was nothing to panic about Kupp. But man, does Goff love to throw to that guy?
And then Gurley gets 10 for 44 carries and a touchdown. Darrell Henderson was 11 carries for 49. To be honest, I didn't see much of this. I don't even know why that split was there. Was this later on? We'll have to look into this before we get to the week. But it was just I don't care about Bengals. I don't care about seeing a Rams versus Bengals game. So it just was blah, I would say. Brandon Cooks got knocked out with a concussion. Seems like that happens a lot.
Yeah, that's becoming a thing now. That's
a little worrisome.
Very sad to see, yeah.
Very, very worrisome, that's for sure. And then the Bengals.
Yeah. Mixon is the only one that you should care about in this team. And he actually did okay. I mean, they gave him 17 carries, turned it into 66 yards, and then he got 4 catches for 11 and a touchdown. So he saved his outing, but I mean, there's not a whole lot else here. Erickson did get almost 100 yards, but who's playing him at the moment?
But that's 2 weeks in a row for Erickson. I don't know what to think about this. I
don't either.
I'm not buying it yet. Not buying it.
Cincinnati is so bad that I'm not gonna take the bait.
And they should have AJ Green back when they come back in week 10 after their bye. So
I mean,
see how that changes things.
At that point, I almost feel like hold him out. Like, what?
Right? Who cares?
Why play the guy? You're in 0-8.
All right, next game. Saints beat up on the Cardinals 31-9. Drew Brees comes back in, and it's like he never left. 34 for 43, 373, and 3 touchdowns. Looked really good. And Latavius Murray has been really, really good filling in for Alvin Kamara.
I was actually joking with Craig because I have Kamara and Latavius Murray, and I was one of them. I kind of take the blame. I thought Latavius Murray was going to be much more part of the game plan, even with Kamara there. And I thought he was going to be able to play, together in tandem. Thought he was going to be that role. But, he was kind of a letdown. But as soon as Kamara goes down, Latavius has actually looked better than Kamara. Not, maybe not football, but numbers-wise, he is getting the job done. That's exactly what they need. I mean, he's put up 2 games in a row that has, exceeded what Kamara has been doing. So I almost joke that, Kamara being out is almost better for anyone that owns, them both. But I mean, to this point, he's done so well. What do you think is going to be the look when Kamara comes back? Do you think Murray will actually be in the game plan again? Do you think that this helped him come back?
I can't say for sure, but I kind of feel like this gives him, it could make him the true Mark Ingram role from last year. We thought that could have been what it was, and it absolutely wasn't. But why not? Why shouldn't he be playing as much as Ingram did last year in that same kind of role? I mean, it's not like Kamara has been spectacular at all this year. He's been good, but he was better last year. I feel like he's not the guy you need out there all the time. He needs to play, not limited, but not like he has this year. Murray needs to be involved. How can he not be? I mean, this guy he just plays well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that this is going to open that door to them, reestablishing what they were doing in the past 5 years with obviously the 2 talented backs. So I'm hoping to see that more, and we'll see when Kamara comes back. But Latavius, another great game.
Then, Michael Thomas, good game too. 11 for 112 and a touchdown. He's just solid. I think he's leading the league in receptions, yards, all that stuff.
Yeah, he seems
great.
He seems pretty bulletproof. I mean, he didn't. Yeah. I think maybe he had one down game when Bridgewater took over for
maybe the first
second.
one.
Yeah, yep. But man, he is just so consistent. You would love to have him on your team right now.
Then Arizona side of things, there wasn't much there. I'll say that. Charles Clay showed up. Haven't seen that name in a while. 3 for 88. But no David Johnson. Edmonds at 7 for 8. I think he got hurt at some point. Zach Zenner's now on the Cardinals. He was on the Saints last week. That's odd. Did you even know that there? Zach Zenner, I'm pretty sure he was with the Saints last week, and this week he's with the the Cardinals.
Yeah, I had no idea about that.
Yeah, so good old Zach Zenner, but nothing from the Cardinals. No. There's nothing here. There's just nothing here.
Well, I do say that Christian Kirk, it's good to see him kind of back in the lineup. They targeted him 11 times. So, you know, in a game where you only scored 9 points, you're trying to get that one guy the ball. So that's good for owners of Kirk.
Jets, Jaguars. Jaguars get the win, 29-15. Sam Darnold just doesn't look good. He's rattled right now, feels like.
I almost feel bad for him.
He's, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. And because of that, Le'Veon Bell can't do anything. 35 total yards. That's just ugly. And then Ryan Griffin is who gets the 2 touchdown catches at tight end, so ends up being worthless for everybody because no one played him probably except in deep leagues. Because I will say I did play him in a 16-team dynasty. So that's you have to go pretty deep though to have him in your lineup.
I was gonna say that's a bonus.
Yeah, it's just because I have no tight ends in that league, so I played him. But yeah, there's not much from the Jets there. You can't rely on anybody in this passing game. Crowder, Robbie Anderson, Demaryius Thomas is out there. You just can't rely on it. It was they're going to have good games at times, but it's not consistent right now. And then for Jacksonville, Minshew looks good. I mean, you watch him in that game, and there's a couple times he just somehow escapes from the defenders and then just throws a bullet, and like the one to Conley, the one to Chark. I don't know how you put Nick Foles in at quarterback when he comes back.
No, I mean, we said this, weeks ago too. He was winning games. He was looking good. He is really, really making it difficult. I hate to, put that kind of pressure on a young quarterback, but he really does look like the real deal. He looks like Jacksonville's future. And, you match him up with Chark, another very, very solid game. He's an insanely, talented young wide receiver. And Fournette, even though it feels like he's been around forever, he's a young guy. Like, they're establishing a pretty solid offense right now to go along with that good defense. So, why would you I feel bad. I feel like Foles is going to get traded once again. Like, he's going to be a journeyman and almost for no fault of his own.
I know. That's pretty much the truth there. Otherwise, Jacksonville, Fournette had another good game with 136 total yards. No touchdowns this time, but really solid. And Conley got the big touchdown, so he had a pretty good game there. But DJ Chark, another solid game, 6 for 79 and a touchdown. He's just become reliable for the most part here. You just keep using him. The last 2 games weren't as great, but he's right back. He's going to be good. I think you just put him in your lineup and should be in pretty good shape there. How about the 49ers Panthers here? So I think it's safe to say the 49ers are for real.
Oh my gosh, are they ever? They are just playing good all around football.
Yeah, and then Tevin Coleman, 4 touchdowns today, 11 carries, 105, 3 rushing, got a touchdown reception, and he looks good. I am impressed with Tevin Coleman. I did not see that coming, and maybe a lot of it's just the fact that the 49ers can just run the ball, but Coleman looks good. I don't remember seeing him like this with the Falcons. He wasn't this good. No,
he really wasn't. And to your point on how well they can run the ball, if you look at all of their running backs, first of all, they had 6 different people rush the ball. But just the long on each of them. Tevin Coleman had a 48-yard run. Mostert had 41. Breida had 17. Samuel had 20. Every single one of these guys is able to get to the second level because of that line so quickly that they're breaking off these huge runs. And, you can almost play any one of these guys because they have a very legit, chance of making it into the end zone. Even Mostert today, kind of back in the mix of things. It was almost a 3-way split. It was 11 carries, 9 carries, 11 carries for Coleman, Mostert, and Breida. Where do you go from here? What are you thinking as far as who to play and when?
Well, Coleman, I think, is just for sure. You just play Coleman without a doubt. And now, Breida, I'm not really sure. He had an ankle injury in that one. And I don't think he came back at all. But we'll see if that's actually serious, then he doesn't play next week. Obviously you're playing Coleman anyway, but then that becomes Mostert becomes a play then. Because you can play 2 running backs from this team at least. And if Breida's out, Mostert will be the guy to play. He'll be enough of an option, I think. I wouldn't play him if Breida's playing. I'd play Coleman and Breida, but I always play the top two. I'll say that, and feel pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah, and Emmanuel Sanders, talking about receivers, he gets into the action immediately, scores a touchdown.
Good and then they just blew him out. So they didn't need to do anything else. So.
Right, exactly.
It's nice to see that, though, right away. Him getting a touchdown early. They look for him, and then the team, they just didn't really need to throw the ball. But Kittle, 6 for 86, he looked pretty solid. But that's a good team there. Patriots-Browns. Patriots win again. Just keep rolling. Brady, solid, just solid game. 259, 2 touchdowns. Not crazy, but just a good, solid game for him. Sony Michel that's a pretty typical Sony Michel game. Sometimes you'll throw that touchdown on there, but 21 for 74. It's nice to see the 21 carries if you're relying on him. James White and Burkhead not really involved there, but White's getting himself 75 receiving yards. Edelman, 2 touchdowns. Pretty big game for people that have Edelman. You just wouldn't trade for Edelman, I know. Had to be a good feeling there.
Yeah, Edelman and Evans, so I was I was very happy today.
And Sanu wasn't really involved today, but that'll change. Game 1. Can't really read too much into that. But on the Browns, Baker's he's struggling. And in turn, it makes everyone else struggle on the receiving side of things. Odell can't get going. Landry can't get going. Anything like that. But Nick Chubb can, except for his fumbles. Those 2 fumbles he had early, which really put a damper on things. Especially he had that, it was a 44-yard run, I think, and he fumbled on it.
Yeah.
But still 131 yards.
Right. I mean, you see how talented the guy is, especially when you're doing it against New England, even though they did make him pay one way or another. But Nick Chubb is so good. He has to be the focal point of this offense. He kind of is, but, man, they just cannot get it going. They have to run through Chubb and then take advantage of lesser secondaries because Beckham, 5 for 52, is just not the reason why you brought him to Cleveland. I mean, it's a rough year for them so far. I don't know if they'll be able to turn it around or not. New England, we already knew that was going to be a tough order. But, I mean, the next game, they have to come out firing because 2-5. I mean, they're very close to just packing it up.
And then Texans-Raiders. Texans win by 3. Deshaun Watson gets himself 3 touchdown passes there. Carlos Hyde looked pretty good, 83 yards on the ground, and DeAndre Hopkins looked good again, 11 for 109. And then Darren Fells, though, 2 touchdowns. We talked about him, in the waiver wire a week or so ago, as a tight end option if you needed somebody, and hey, there he goes. Hey, she did something with it. No, but it's only 6 for 58.
Right. But, I mean, the touchdowns is what you have to look for anyway. I mean, it's the only thing you can kind of not predict, but the only thing that sets any of these tight ends apart anymore. So
it really is.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's good for him, especially, you have to believe that this could continue to happen. Maybe, obviously not 2 touchdowns, but that they'll continue to look for him because of, obviously, the different injuries that they have at the wide receiver position. But I do have to say, Hopkins, the big game by him, 11 for 109. That feels very, very good because Hopkins, like a few other very, very high-profile players, just hasn't been what you expected them to be, even though that they've been producing on offense. So him getting back into it and them targeting him 13 times, I hope that is going to be what we see the rest of the year.
And then for the Raiders there, Derek Carr actually had a solid fantasy game, 3 touchdowns, 285 yards. Jacobs, 66 on the ground. Tyrell Williams got himself 3 catches, but 91 yards and a touchdown. Renfro gets a touchdown. But, just okay. Nothing special there either.
Nope. And Waller, even though he didn't have near the game, they targeted him 8 times still, and he got a touchdown, even though he only got 2 catches for 11 yards. So he's sadly enough in the tight end space that made him worth the play. But I think that the 8 targets shows how they're going to want to. So no panic on him.
Then that's it for the games, except for Packers Chiefs is still ongoing. So we've missed the last little bit here, but I got to say, Aaron Jones is awesome. You seen those stats yet? I don't know if you've seen the update there of Aaron Jones. You better click that.
I'll say, I saw the early one.
Check that out.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I was looking for a rushing, but what in the world happened here? So yeah, the receiving, he has 6 for 151 and 2 touchdowns.
And think of it, that's with getting called out in the first half there. You got the one called back. Think if he doesn't get that reception called back.
Yeah, man, this is what we were hoping for. And, you start worrying, too, because it started looking like more of a split with Williams as far as rushing the ball, because he got the touchdown early in the game. Yep. And I was really wondering what the look was going to be. But this is a good way just to wrap that up and say, yeah, Jones is still the guy.
He is, but Williams is usable. 2 touchdowns, so it's crazy.
Yeah, he's not going away. I mean, he's getting, 10 touches, 2 of them, touchdown, yeah. But, Aaron Jones, wow, that is very impressive. I don't think I've ever seen him come anywhere close to this in the receiving game.
Then he just caught an 8-yarder there on 3rd and 5. So that might have wrapped up the game right there.
And KC, I mean, unless you have anyone not to move on prematurely.
No,
but,
that's
KC, I mean, without Mahomes, we really wanted to see what was going to happen. Matt Moore didn't look bad from from what I saw. His numbers aren't terrible. They're not spectacular, but 267 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, what is your takeaway from the offense and, the next couple of games without Mahomes?
He's fine. I would say he's fine. Hill was 6 for 76, so he looks okay. Kelsey got the touchdown. I mean, Mahomes might be back quicker than we think. That he said today if he would have played if it was a playoff game. So that's we'll see. I mean,
he's a gamer, but I mean, I hope they hold him out a little bit.
Right? It's just he can stand around and throw, but you get yourself hit, and who knows what's going to happen. But
right.
I mean, they'll be okay. They're going to be okay without Mahomes, but it won't be great. It won't be like it used to be.
No, but I mean, I do have to say, I thought Tyreek Hill would actually. I thought this was going to hurt him the most, just because he's so good at taking the top off the defense. But they targeted him quite a bit. 9 targets, receptions, 6 for 76. I mean, who on this team do you still play Tyreek Hill and Kelsey, I assume? But is there anyone else that you're looking at? Because even the running back position too, without Mahomes and him dumping it off to them more, are you more worried about Williams and McCoy now? Because, even with Matt Moore, and it didn't look like they went to the rushing nearly as much as I thought they would.
Oh, I basically only feel confident with Tyreek and Kelsey. That's it. I wouldn't want to play anybody else really, unless you're forced into it at running back. I wouldn't feel comfortable with anybody else. But Tyreek and Kelsey. But hopefully you only got like one more week of that. If that, we'll see. If Mahomes gets his way, he'll be playing next week. All right, I think that's it for the recap of Week 8. We'll be back tomorrow night. We'll have some waiver wire picks for you. And that'll do it. Talk to you guys next time.